Every stand is different. Counters exist, different users exist, there are so many variables that decides victory. In this list I am going to rank every stand in JoJo's Bizarre Adventures Part 3 Stardust Crusaders from weakest to strongest. If you find that you enjoy it at any point, please go ahead and press that sweet subscribe button. Number 35. Starting off at the bottom of the list is the only stand that's a detriment more than an advantage. Holly's stand literally tried to kill her. It does not have a name. Moving on. Number 34. Knum can camouflage the user, but has zero, and I mean absolutely zero combat abilities. That is all. Number 33. Tenor Sax can create illusions to avoid combat, I guess. But you can never actually fight anyone. Next. Number 32. The first stand on the list who can actually fight is the High Priestess. This stand can assimilate minerals into itself to grow or expel them to become smaller. But in actual combat, even at its most powerful, it falls short of almost any stand. Number 31. The sun can summon extreme heat, which also affects its user, mind you. The user can, however, easily prepare well beforehand to handle the heat in various ways, such as bringing cold drinks and stuff. But if the user is spotted, they are done for, and the enemy has a lot of time to figure it out. Number 30. Bastet is extremely situational. The enemy has to specifically touch an electrical outlet produced by the stand, at which point it will gradually become more and more magnetic. Basically a win condition in itself if the absurd requirement is met. However, the user also has to remain within a certain distance of the target, leaving themselves vulnerable. Number 29. The Lovers has the power to inflict the pain of the user upon the victim. This stand has very little going for it otherwise. Whether true or not, the user can convince the enemy that killing them would be suicide and thusly force stalemates or holding hostages. But there is no world where the Lovers win a fight. Number 28. Justice can control any body part that is wounded by the user themselves. Basically, it's a guaranteed win with assassination. The first time I watched the anime, I thought Justice was easily the most powerful stand, like, all you have to do is wound the enemy and you win. But how exactly are you going to wound the enemy in the first place when they have a stand and your stand does nothing until you wounded them? Number 27! Next up, Wheel of Fortune! This stand takes the shape of a card and scales with the user's confidence. At its peak, it is slightly above Star Platinum, but that peak is volatile, and if the user is not confident at all, the stand is useless. Number 26. We have the Empress. This parasitic stand can attach itself to its target and grow in power over time. It will, however, lose to any stand if it's noticed, and it will be. Another interesting fact is that it does not quite count as a stand, since regular humans can interact with it, and it is affected by outside factors such as hardening tar. Number 25. While it does absolutely nothing in combat, the power of Thoth can somewhat predict the future, and if the user follows the stand's guidance, the prediction will always be fulfilled. And my assessment is that the predictions are accurate enough to avoid combat altogether, forcing a draw or at the very least not losing. Number 24. Hermit Purple, the laughingstock of all stands. You can be Spider-Man. Gather information if you bust open a TV. It can conduct Hamon if you're one of the 2 people alive who use the stand. It's not the worst stand by any means, but it's not close to mid-tier. Number 23. Weaker than the average stand by far. Ebony Devil has a requirement. As in getting hurt first, it's just weak, but at least I guess it beats Hermit Purple. Number 22. We're not shown its actual abilities in combat, since all Judgment did was try to use its wish-granting power, with the side of evil, to overcome Polnareff. It would seem that the stand in essence can summon beings and objects that are weak but capable of hitting stands. So if you know of something or someone your enemy cannot get themselves to attack, it may just be a win.
Number 21, Oni-chan.
When an opponent admits defeat to the user of Osiris, in any form, even within their own mind, their soul is taken by this stand, meaning instant victory for the user. However, if an enemy decides to go for the kill at any point before they acknowledge that they have lost, the user wins. Number 20! Atom is the same as Osiris, except the added benefit of low degree mind reading. The user can ask the enemy questions and receive yes or no answers through the stand's power, which can be used to improve the success rate of the stand's win condition. Number 19. Tower of Grey is very small and very agile. It can put up a fight against Star Platinum and Hierophant Green. Sadly, there is not much else to say about it, but its showing has cemented it in the mid-tier, albeit at the bottom. Number 18. A somewhat regular gun with controllable projectiles. Emperor can be called forth almost instantly for sneak attacks. It can hold enemies at bay and can hurt other stand users. If the user is hiding, a sniping method can be used. Very powerful in certain gimmicky situations. Number 17. Magician's Red, literal pyrokinesis, can be doused with water. The Fool, literal sand bending, cannot be doused with water. Horus, literal ice bending, cannot be doused with water. It can form ice out of thin air. Overall more powerful than the Fool and Magician's Red, the user was just a little bit dumber. Louis, number 14. Silver Chariot, almost like Star Platinum, but ever so slightly weaker because the user is not the main protagonist. Average power, average speed, good reflexes, the perfect example of mid-tier. Number 13. Star Platinum, the stand who defined mid-tier on this list. Exactly like Silver Chariot, but slightly better because it's the main character stand. Number 12. Geb takes the form of a small amount of water. It can stretch itself in almost any way it wants, usually in the shape of something sharp for the purpose of attacks. Its small size also grants it great speed. It has a very long range, meaning the user will mostly be safe. It can stand toe to toe or even beat any stand beneath it on this list. Number 11. At the top of mid-tier we have Anubis. It can control the mind of anyone it touches. While it does not possess any extraordinary powers, it does learn from every fight it finds itself in. Meaning with enough time it may become the most powerful stand of all time. But in essence, it is just a sword that can hurt stands. I put it at the top of mid-tier because if it hides itself, it could get in contact with any stand user and thusly take their bodies.
There is no escape. The world!
Before we get to the top 10, I just want to say thank you all for watching. Let's go! Number 10. Hanged Man is almost invisible. It hides in reflective surfaces and can attack the reflections of others. It can cut the throats of enemy stand users reliably without ever being noticed. It can escape easily with the speed of light as long as there is another reflection to move to. Number 9. Probably a bit of a controversial pick here, but I'm putting Dark Blue Moon up here. It's faster and gains more abilities in the water. It can create a tornado underwater with area of effect racer barnacles. It also stuns the enemy. If the enemy does not have some kind of hex ability to make time stop, it's at the bottom of time stoppers. Number 8. Death 13 is capable of invading the enemy's dreams. When the target is asleep, they are completely at the mercy of Death 13. Within the dream world, the enemy is unable to summon their stand, so it is an automatic win for Death 13. However, the reason this stand is not at the top of the list is the fact that it is almost entirely defenseless when the enemy is awake.
Number 7.
Star Platinum, Salvoldo! Physical attributes equal to mid-tier, along with the power to stop time. The longest we saw it stop time was 5 seconds, meaning very few things could stand up to it in a fight. Number 6.
The world!
The same as Star Platinum the World. The longest we saw it stop time was 11 seconds, but it would keep growing. The power to eventually stop time indefinitely means its only weakness are immortal opponents and sneak attacks. I'm gonna give you number 5! Satan takes the form of the user's shadow and can thusly attack from odd and unpredictable directions. It has the ability to regress the age of anyone who stands on it as well as their stands. Automatic win if condition is met for more than a few seconds without the user dying.
Number 4.
Strong can use a small object to become a bigger object. In the show we only see it become a massive fright ship. The user has complete control of it and can break through it at will. Destroying part of the ship will not do anything and the user can hide within it. Massive AoE is the only weakness.
Holding themselves to a bronze standard.
Gaze upon my handsome face with envy!
Number 3.
This stand wins automatically if it and the enemy touch due to the corrosive acid that spreads, as well as the stand making its user literally invulnerable to attacks. It can also disguise itself as other beings to make sure the auto-win condition is easily met. Truly one of the most powerful stands. Its only weakness is if its user is an absolute moron, which was oddly enough the case.
Number 2.
No, I'm sorry, Cream is not number 1, but it's darn close. With invisibility, invulnerability, and an offense that tears through any defense, this stand defeats any and all stands that do not have some kind of trickery or fast win condition. It wins no hands down against almost every stand except number 1 and a few tricky ones further down the list that would not actually win against other stands. Number 1! Okay, let me explain. You take a stand which has a malleable body like Gep, you add powerful ranged attacks to it. Pretty strong, right? Where we also add a conditionless version of Justice to it so it can mind control people at a whim. Oh, it sounds a bit overpowered now.
You're goddamn right.
In a one-on-one, you win by default. You even get a pet that you can have with you forever until you meet someone stronger, at which point you just steal that person's body instead. Also, no one can deflect the Emerald Splash. So that was all, guys. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. Please leave a like and I'll see you guys next time. Have a lovely day. Farewell.